Lone Star Gridiron is looking for interns. Over the years, we have helped dozens of students get jobs in sports media. If you want to shortcut your path to a career in sports media, click on the internship link on LoneStarGridiron.com. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Coach's Call. I'm Chris Daly, and I am joined by the amazing, the wonderful Sterling Doty from Stephenville. And first off, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Excited to be here to talk about our great kids.
Oh, you bet, you bet. And great kids they are. Gosh, I mean, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is the player's performance, because you had a great season, state championship. But you were recently awarded with the NFF Hatchell Cup National High School Academic Excellence Award. And if you could, talk about that, what it is and what it meant to win it.
Yes, and so it is a national award that you're competing against other states, and each state is going to crown state champion for both excellence on the field, excellence off the field, community-based outreach. Every school fills out a packet, and we're blessed the first 4 years that the program was around. We were a state semifinalist, and our academic coordinator came to me, Jeremiah Butchie, and said, Coach, I feel really good about this application. We've had a high number of, every kid on our roster, 53-man roster, was on the academic all-district team. 4.0 GPA, so Coach came to me and said, I think we really got a chance, to be state champions, and not really looking on a national level or anything like that. But so the Football Foundation, it's named after their CEO, Steve Hatchell, and Matthew Sine. He runs kind of the program, and when I got the call from him that we'd won the award, it was just very, very special to our community and our kids.
Yeah, and a lot of times people think that it's one or the other. You can have athletics or you can have academics, but I think success in both starts with expectation. And explain how you can accomplish both, because people don't see that happening a lot.
Yes, I'll start with the kids. It really comes down to their commitment and wanting to be great in everything that they do, and that starts at an early age of them. Ultimately, we ask them to compete on the football field and also in the classroom, and then also get out and do things in the community, our 3 C's. And our kids just have a mentality of wanting to compete and be the best at everything they do. So it starts with their commitment, and then so many special people have impacted their lives and pulled them up when they needed to be pulled up, or pulled them down when they needed to come down a little bit, and so just so many people were involved in that journey, and that's your parents, school administrators, and ultimately their teachers that help get them to, have that 4.0 GPA.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And you talked about, you thought, well, we have a chance to win state, but winning the national award, what did that mean to you? Yeah,
it'll be number one on our career list there, at Stephenville. Very special place, and boys side has won 8 state championships, and on our girls, on the Honeybee side, we won 4, and so city of champions, but for this honor, I think it's got to be number one for our community, and it's very, very special to be able to represent Texas and Stephenville on a national level.
Yeah, and you mentioned community a couple times. Talk about this community and how this community has made things like this possible, the athletic and the academic.
Yes, I just, I feel like it comes down to the expectation, like you mentioned there before, that, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to do our very best, and we're going to work extremely hard, and that's just in the DNA of our kids, and they're just surrounded by it, and just a very positive, always striving and always competing. Community that our kids grow up in, and we have a high expectation of what the football product is, right? And the great history there, going back to Coach Prowse and Coach Copeland, and just all the great football teams that we've had. And so there's a high expectation on the field, but also, to be great young men, to be great leaders. And they definitely did that, inside our hallways, and had a very special senior group and great junior group, and a few sophomores that were up and a part of that. And so when it really just all comes together, it's very, very special. And for them to do it both on the field and in the classroom, man, that's...
Yeah, now traditionally strong programs, as you go to the junior high, you go to the Pee Wee League, they're running the same plays along the way to train them. How early do the kids there understand the importance of academics?
Yeah, and so that's going to be the expectation that the ISD sets, and just the commitment there to being strong in the classroom. And so our teachers have done a great job of setting that expectation. And then ultimately, our parents set that standard, and they're a part of, they're invested in their kids' education. And so when you have, really all three, with the community, the parents, and the kids all pulling the rope in the same direction, special things can happen.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's an important part of your hiring process too, is you got to make sure those coaches see that as importance too.
Sure, and that comes down to the expectation that we have for our coaches being teachers. They're teachers first. And so they got to see the value in the whole product of what we do. Football is a game. It's the vehicle that we use to create men. Yeah. And ultimately, we want to make great husbands, fathers, and community members.
I love it. And what systems do you have in place to make sure they're getting their numbers, they're turning in their homework, they're getting their tutoring, things like that?
So I mentioned Jeremiah Butchie before, and he's our academic coordinator. So he's going to be on top of everything that we have going on in the classroom. And so we'll set up study halls for our kids to make sure if they're falling behind in the math or science or biology, that we have our kids go by there during that little small block during the school day that we have. Communication is key. We communicate with the teachers. We literally have a document that is set up that they can communicate with us. One push of the button, he gets a notification that, hey, John didn't do well on this test. All she's got to put is the F in the spreadsheet by that kid, and we'll get it. Or she wants to type a note, or that just allows us to open that communication there between them. So we have that open line of communication between our teachers and Coach Butchie, and kind of that game plan of, hey, we're gonna have these study halls set up to make sure that you're catching up on what you need to. And then also your position coaches are ultimately responsible for their kids' grades. And so every Sunday we'll pull a grade report, and anybody that has an 80 or below, we'll come back and we'll follow up with them and get them up to speed and get them up to standard from a position group wise. So really a two-tiered system that we found to be really successful, and had some just like we had talented football players, we had some very talented kids in the classroom as well. Guys that are graduating with a lot of college credit, guys that attacked AP courses and done great. That top 10% list is just filled with our football guys. Yeah. So those guys, ultimately don't have to worry about it as much, right? But then it's your other guys that you got to get to the standard of excellence, and that really comes from just that extra time that coach spends with them, sending them to where they need to go during that time. And so it's just a big train that when it's moving down the track and all together, that we got the ability for our guys to do well in the classroom.
Excellent. And in football, you have the film study where you get together, you go over things. Do you have something similar where teachers and coaches, who are often the same people, get together regularly and discuss the kids and, hey, we need to work on this together? And do you have that sort of environment too?
Yes, yeah. Our staff has the ability to go by and talk to any teacher there during her conference, or set up a time that they can swing by. Sometimes we may miss something and fall through the cracks, so the teacher reaches out to us. And like you mentioned, we're going to have a coach basically in every department there on school.
Yeah.
So math, science, and social studies, English, and your CTEs. And so, our coaches and teachers will have a relationship together just from that. And so if we have one struggling in math, they can go see Coach Ritchie down the hallway and say, hey, I need to see him there in action tomorrow. Can you help me get Johnny over there?
Yeah. And talk about the role that the counselors and even the parents play in this.
Yes, yeah. So, our counselors work hand in hand with our kids to get them, in the best situation in terms of what classes they need to be in to find that success. Counselors may come in and challenge somebody, say, hey, you're in regular ed classes right now. We want to put you in advanced placement. You're thriving. We really do think. Talk to your teachers. They feel like you'd have the ability to do well in advanced placement. And so, again, goes back to communication with our counselors to the kids, and then ultimately to us. And or if they're in an advanced placement class, hey, let's get to regular ed instead of making an 80 and you get 10 points for being in that class and get it up to a 90. Well, you can go thrive in a regular ed class. And then the parents, it's you have children, how hard it is just the daily operations just to get them to school, all the clothes and feed them, and nutrition and all the things, get them in bed. And so they have a high level of commitment to excellence in the classroom, and following up with communication with teachers and making sure their kids are doing their homeworks and alerts when something's not turned in, and all those types of things. So it's just something that it's got to all work hand in hand to be able to come together to get the best for the kids.
Excellent. And talk about the lessons that these athletes learn, when it comes to balancing football, parents, academics, other extracurriculars, and how that will apply to them in college, their career, and beyond.
Well, if there's one thing we know, it never gets easier, right? For us, there's always that next mountain, and so these kids are learning that life is hard, and you're going to have those hard moments. Your 2-year-old is up with she's sick, and you're up in the middle of the night, and then here we go, we got to get up and go to work the next day. And so tough times, hard times are coming, but what they're learning right now in these moments through the vehicle sports is preparing them for all that. And so just your hard work, your dedication to a goal, to a cause, being a team player, understanding that life's not all about you, it's about us. And ultimately, there's no better vehicle than that in sports, and figuring out what your role is on a team, because we're always going to be a part of a team at some point in life. And so figuring out those lessons as a young person, I think, is really going to set them up for success there in their adult life.
Nice. And a lot of kids have influences from outside consultants and coaches, or club athletics, but talk about the importance of community-based athletics and the school, the role it plays.
Well, they're going to start in the morning, and they're going to walk in, and they're going to go into geometry class, and then into physics, and then get into their athletic period, throughout the course of the day. And it's so special to be able to go represent your community, wear your school colors, go to the school pep rally. That's what we grew up doing, And we look back and reflect on those times and what a role it played in our lives, and we know it's making a big impact on our kids on a daily basis, and to have the ability to go represent your brand, which they do, out on the basketball court, volleyball court, tennis court. They're representing your high school and how they're competing. Just a special time in their life, and something that, I tell our freshmen when they come in, enjoy it. Enjoy every moment of it. If there's something you want to go do, go be a part of it. Go get in fine arts. Go play in the band. I love to see, our players take the shoulder pads off at halftime, go out there in the marching band, come back in, get a couple adjustments, see a couple things on video inside the locker room, and get back out there and go play.
Yeah.
Because we want our kids to do everything, to experience everything, because you only get to do it once.
That's true.
And they get 4 years, and Bruce Springsteen sings about it, glory days, right? I mean, we all sit back and reflect and think, and so it's time of their lives right now. And we know they got better days coming.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But it's a special time, and we're going to maximize that time with them.
Love that. And for coaches, maybe that are new coaches or coaches in an environment that doesn't have such a strong academic focus, what advice would you give them for how you get that started?
I think consistency is key. I think so many times with any system or new program that you try to implement, if you're not consistent with it, it's not gonna matter to the kids. If you say you're gonna hold them accountable, and if you don't make it to a class for a study hall, and if there's no repercussion from it, then the kids are going to take advantage of that, and they can feel and value the importance of it.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I think just set a plan, make a plan with your staff of something new that you want to implement, and then be consistent with it.
So you talked about standards and repercussions. How do you balance carrot versus stick there?
Yeah, different kids are motivated by different things.
Yeah.
And I think it's our job as a coach to kind of figure out what motivates them. And we've got to know their personality and what's gonna, some kids you can get after.
Yeah.
Other kids you kind of got to bring them off to the side and challenge them another way. So I think that's why they call us coach, and it's a big hat, a lot of different job responsibilities that aren't always written down, and so we got to kind of individualize our approach to what we do to get the best out of them.
And talk about the role that assistant coaches play in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, we can sit there and talk about, hey, this is what we're going to implement. And it comes from my office, comes from my desk. The quality of the construction is as good as the commitment of the crew, right? Because it's your workers that are out there doing it. And so, the assistant coaches have to take that responsibility of, hey, I'm in charge of my position players. I'm going to work on the whole person here. We want to be great and all the things that we've talked about. Therefore, it's going to take a little extra time of me getting organized, pulling their grades on Sunday and looking at them and then communication with the kids and getting the very best out of them. But we get from our office, from our desk, we can sit there and preach all we want, but it's really that commitment of the staff to get it done.
Yeah. And as far as the kids go, looking back on their time in Stephenville 10, 20 years from now, how do you want them to remember that?
Yeah, I think ultimately, like, our success will be judged based off of when they're able to come back 20 to 30 years and go to that high school reunion, and see just the type of men and women that they are today. So we want them to be able to reflect and look back at the their high school days and have a smile on their face and you always talk about the wins. You always really harp on the losses. Those burn you the most. You'll have that chatter and that talk, but really it's that brotherhood, sisterhood. They reflect back to things that happened in the locker room. You reflect back to bus rides and remember that time that coach tripped over the bag when he was showing us the running back drill, or just all of that stuff is really what you remember, what you cherish. It's just all those moments where a team comes together and the camaraderie piece of it. So ultimately, those are some of the things that we're looking for and the impact that we make.
I love it. Well, Coach Sterling Doty, thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations on great athletic results, but more importantly, this nationwide recognition for what's truly an amazing program.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you guys for having me to talk about our great kids and staff and everybody there in Stephenville.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Coach, Lone Star Gridiron has been the leader in Coach's Show podcasts for 20 years, and now you can get your own Coach's Show podcast each week during the season as a fundraiser for your booster club. Yes, booster clubs all over are using these podcasts to help their sports programs. You get to share the stories of your program and your kids to a huge audience and make money. We started with just football, but this year have expanded to make them available for all sports. Call 713-269-4620 to find out the details and get your Coach's Show started.